Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Now, Derek Frisbee might or might not be along the way. He separated a shoulder. What he separated it from, ask Baker Mayfield. I mean, now you know what that is. He thought he had torn a rotator cuff, and I got the word today that he has separated a shoulder. So let me twist these back around. That's better. So I am flying solo with a number of things that I think are of value to talk about. First of all, congratulations. Romeo Crennel, 74 years of age, is retiring from the game of football. This is a guy who people in Cleveland know real well. He coached 39 seasons in the NFL, including, of course, 2 head coaching stints with the Cleveland Browns and 1 with the Kansas City Chiefs. He also served as the Houston Texans interim head coach in 2020. And he became, at 73 years of age, the oldest person in NFL history to serve as a head coach in a game. That was a record that was held by George Halas, the former coach of the Chicago Bears. Crennel finished his career with a 32-63 record as a head coach. This guy was a player's coach, and I think that if we had difficulties as far as with him, is that he was a little too lenient toward players. I know the players loved him, and you get an indication, like when you're dealing with a team that was headed by Eric Mangini. It didn't take very long to find out how big of a prick Eric Mangini was, and to this day, people still talk about how big of a prick Eric Mangini was. You could not find anybody who had anything bad personally to say about Romeo Crennel. So I think that's a great thing. I think that, 39 years. And this is a guy who lasted in the game and was a strong defensive coordinator. I will say this, that in today's climate in the NFL, where African-American coaches are trying, or coordinators are trying to become head coaches, let this be another story. Romeo Crennel got an opportunity, and hopefully others like Eric Bieniemy will as well. And so I guess the way that I look at Romeo Crennel was a guy who was a really good defensive coordinator who maybe relied too much on goodwill. And with modern day athletes, that can sometimes be a difficult balance to achieve between being a player's coach and just being a Forrest Gregg guy with nervous tics who makes a total ass of himself. We've seen them all in Cleveland, folks. And I want to wish Romeo Crennel nothing but the best of luck in his retirement. Class act. We go from number 23 to number 24. A 24th woman has stepped forward in the case of Deshaun Watson. Now there's 24 in the civil suit against him. This particular lawsuit alleges that the plaintiff massaged Watson on 2 different occasions. The first time, the lawsuit says, was cut short because Watson had to leave abruptly after taking a phone call. The lawsuit then says that he scheduled a second massage a few days later when he allegedly behaved inappropriately, which the complaint describes in explicit detail. The lawsuit says the plaintiff shortly thereafter quit massage therapy. This is, again, what you're going to get. The NFL is very close to making a decision about what they're going to do with Deshaun Watson. And the more logs that can be thrown on the fire in this civil suit by Tony Busby, he's going to do it. And the fact is, that's his job to do. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell the other side of the story as well, which is at 80 years of age, and I don't mean to be ageist, but Rusty Hardin should be keeping his mouth shut and leaving it up to others to be the head spokesperson for Deshaun Watson, because he did what could be irreparable damage by showing himself to be incredibly ignorant about the case that he's involved in. And this is the kind of thing that if you're Tony Busby, you were just waiting for. And by now, everybody knows that Rusty Hardin basically said, well, there's happy endings and massages are a common thing, and that's not a crime. Well, it may be a crime. It may not be a crime. It wasn't in criminal court. As far as this is concerned, at a civil court, it will be used against him without a question, as the other 23 will. But when your own attorney makes a comment stupid like that, the other day we were comparing it to Robert Kraft. And what Robert Kraft did, in my mind, is actually worse, because the place that he frequented utilizes basically slave labor from the Orient. And a lot of these places do. And so these people have no choice. It's either do what they do, they don't speak the language, and that's taking advantage of somebody who is a slave, a sex slave. And that they don't keep the money. So I don't know what the situation is with Instagram people. I don't know. I don't know how that whole thing works out. What I do know is this, that if you're a lead attorney, you don't speak out of turn that way and then have to re-release statements and start getting tongue-tied over the whole thing. Your client needs better lawyering than that. And the NFL is looking on at this. And there will be punishment. Do I think that the 24th case makes a damn bit of difference? No. But I think that the case in its entirety and the tone-deaf nature of Rusty Hardin's comments don't make this any more winnable, if you will, for Deshaun Watson. He's going to pay a stiff price, and it's going to be that way for him, and it's going to be that way dished monetarily and also dished out by the NFL. I wouldn't be looking for him anytime soon, Browns fans. This is getting worse from a justification perspective of doling out punishment. On the other side of the country, how to deal with a quarterback you don't really want. The San Francisco 49ers have excused Jimmy Garoppolo from mandatory minicamp. That's one way of handling this. They are awaiting a clean bill of health on Garoppolo, who's still recovering from shoulder surgery on his right arm. So the fact that Garoppolo will not participate in this week's mini camp should not be surprising to anybody, because he hasn't even done the offseason conditioning program, all right? The fact that he is still recovering from a procedure that has delayed the team's efforts to trade him, I got to be honest with you. And then there were two, Garoppolo and Mayfield. And if you see teams going after Garoppolo before Baker Mayfield when he's coming off of a surgery on his throwing arm, that might tell you everything you need to know about Baker Mayfield's future in the league, which at that point would be shot to shit. I don't think anybody's going to wind up a winner in this. Not Deshaun Watson, not Baker Mayfield, and not the Cleveland Browns. I just think that there are some situations in life that just don't go the way you'd hoped. And if you're Jimmy Haslam, and you have no feel for business whatsoever, and you inherit everything from somebody, and you don't know how to run something, and you're dishonest to begin with, quite honestly, you don't anticipate any of this. And why not? I can't answer you about that. I have no idea. You think that would have been the first thing that they would have been thinking about? The hope for the 49ers is that once Garoppolo is cleared to start throwing again, and that's like the end of June or early July, that a trade will take shape. But, honestly, who's going to want Garoppolo just because he's cleared to throw? No, I don't think so. Kyle Shanahan basically said, quote, nothing's changed since the surgery. We knew where we were before that. And then he got the surgery, so everything went on hold. I expect him at some time, most likely to be traded, but who knows? It's not a guarantee, and it's been exactly on hold when that happened. And when he is healthy, we'll see what happens. So there you have that. From the horse's mouth. Hello, Daniel Philak. How you doing? And of course not. There's nothing but rubble. This is like Berlin after World War II. There is nothing left of the infrastructure of the relationship between Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. Nothing. Nothing at all. And no, of course not. The Browns are not going to be able to compete in the AFC North with Jacoby Brissett. I think we all recognize that. So you may have to put up with a year, a not so good year, but you'll get a better draft pick. The way that I look at it is that you move forward, and if you have to take the step backward, you take the step backward. As for me, I'm just waiting for the NFL to leave DirecTV so I don't have to pay those people for nothing. I've already cut a lot of my DirecTV exposure and reduced my price on other things. And I'm just waiting. It's like, let's see who's going to land or how many people are going to land pieces of NFL broadcasts. So, and we know this too, but it's premature to even talk about that because nobody seems to be interested in paying Baker Mayfield, paying a dime of that $18.8 million. Nobody's interested. The Browns are between a rock and a hard place. Everybody knows it. They have the upper hand, and this is where Haslam perpetually puts the team. It should not come as a surprise, at all. And the Browns can just dump a pile of cash on him. Why not add more to the fire? And, the fact of the matter is, Yuri-san, is that if that's what they have to do, that's what they'll do. But it doesn't help Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has to get better at his craft. Whoever gets him is going to have to provide a better offensive line for him and is going to have to call a game that plays to what Baker's strengths are. And they'll go through what we went through, and we'll have to rework his mechanics that still aren't right. So a dumpster fire, I would say that at this point, if Deshaun Watson doesn't play next year, I'm not going to complain about it. This coming season, I'm not going to complain about that. That's the way it goes. And I don't believe the Browns are ever going to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. That's the way it goes. It doesn't stop me from watching. It doesn't stop me from commenting. We have better players than we've had in the past. But again, somehow it gets mismanaged. And the owner is a douchebag. We know that. We were hoping that he would get out of the way. It seemed like when he disappeared, things were going well. Every time he reappears, something bad happens. When his private jet comes into the equation with he and his silly wife getting on the plane and let's go to Houston, you knew damn well something silly was going to happen. And sure enough, it did. This kind of a what you expect to have happen. Here's a weird story, and I don't understand this. So help me, cod, almighty fish of the sea. Kevin Cash, who was formerly, if you remember, the bullpen coach for the Cleveland Indians, now, of course, is the head coach of the Tampa Bay Rays. I'll give you the headline. Kevin Cash says Pride Night logo opt-out from some of Tampa Bay Rays players won't divide the team. Well, here's what happens. A number of Tampa Bay Rays players have decided not to wear rainbow-colored logos on their uniforms as part of the team's annual Pride Night on Saturday that recognize the LGBTQEIEIO community. Rays manager Kevin Cash addressed it after Sunday's game, saying it will not negatively impact the clubhouse. Here's what Cash said, but it's what the players said that was even more interesting. First and foremost, I think the organization has done a really good thing to have Pride Night supporting our gay community to come out and have a nice night at the ballpark. Now, I can speak firsthand about, being in the greater Tampa area. There's a large gay population and a lot of the fiestivating that goes in the greater Clearwater area on the wharf and all of that is big time, a big part. The gay community is a big part of that. It impressed that our players have had those conversations. We want to support our players that choose to wear or choose not to wear to the best of our capabilities. Now, here are the players who said no to wearing a rainbow on their uniform. Jason Adam, Jalen Beeks, Brooks Raley, Jeffrey Springs, and Ryan Thompson. Now, these names don't mean anything to us because they're like the Indians, except they win. I'm sorry, the Guardians, except they win. They have lower priced talent. They don't have big names. Adam was elected to speak for the group. All right. So this is pitcher Jason Adam saying it was, quote, a faith-based decision for many of them. And here's what Adam said. So it's a hard decision because ultimately we all said what we want is them to know that all are welcome and loved here. But when we put it on our bodies, I think a lot of guys decided it's just a lifestyle that maybe not that they look down on anybody or think differently. It's just that maybe we don't want to encourage it if we believe in Jesus, who's encouraged us to live a lifestyle that would abstain from that behavior. It's not judgmental. It's not looking down. It's just what we believe the lifestyle he's encouraged us to live for our good, not to withhold. But again, we love these men and women. We care about them. We want them to feel safe and welcome here. Fuck you. Fuck you and your faith-based crap. Jesus never said anything of the sort. Make that stop. It's just what we believe the lifestyle he's encouraged us to live. Well, my God. Do you remember the stories from faith-based groups, prosperity churches? Fuck your neighbor if you can get rich. Prosperity churches. Or how about the people who came into town and they did all of those revivals and took people's money? Fuck them. Money's mine now. No problem doing that. And there's Jesus looking down on them. Can't say that Jesus wanted them to do that now, can you? The fact of the matter is that wearing something on your uniform has nothing to do with what you believe in your heart. Keep your fucking mouths shut. If you don't want to be judgmental, wear it on your uniform. All you have to do is say, that's not a lifestyle I want to pursue. That's not right for me. But it's kind of difficult to sit there and say that's twisted and perverted and not to the word of God when there are millions of people who are living this lifestyle. So for this, it gets my Asshole of the Year award. I thought this was a free country to allow people to live the way they want to live, you know? It's ridiculous. And should it get in the way of the team? Not at all. If you love and care about the people, as Adam said, and he probably, his wife's name is Eve, and somewhere in a duplicate universe, inverted, his husband is Steve. What I can tell you is this: if you love somebody, you accept them. They're not criminals, folks. They may think differently, they may be constructed differently. But when you do something like that and you stand out there and say, well, it's a faith-based decision, what you're saying is God says it's wrong. And I'm so sick of that I could puke. God says, like you know what God says. If you're hearing God's voice, you're psychotic. Make that stop. All right. And I would be somewhat remiss. All of these shootings that are happening in America. Talking to a neighbor down the road who's Italian, and he is looking to go back to Italy. And he and I had a nice conversation. He gives classes down here in Florida for people who own handguns so that he teaches them how to use them properly to defend themselves. This guy is a gun advocate. But he said, wait a minute. He goes, I'm not telling people to get automatic rifles. He goes, I don't know what in the hell's going on here. He goes, get me out of here. It's Topaz talk. That's what Topaz says to me every morning when I release him from his crate to go for his walk. Get me out of here. He wants to go to Italy. And who can blame him? All over the country, you're going to be drawing little dots on a map like mobile gas stations back in the 60s, little blue dots of where some maniacs shot 10 people and killed them. And it's happening all over America. And the fabric of society is totally ripped. No, it's not anything new. It's just something that's getting worse. It's like when you have cancer, at first, you may not even know you've got it. Yeah, but when you reach a certain point, you certainly know. And when you reach a certain point, more often than not, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's where we are. There's nothing that anybody can do about it. There's too many guns in circulation. You're not going to take guns away from people. The answer of one side is to take guns away from people. The answer for the other side is everybody go out and get guns and start shooting the person who's shooting people up. It's the worst thing I've ever lived through. Makes me sick to my stomach. This is no longer America. It's pathetic. And real Americans, real people are being economically crushed, criminally crushed. It's just a bad thing. That's all I got to say about that. Nobody should be surprised, by the way, that Golden State beat the Celtics in game 2. as I've been saying over and over again, the Celtics can't seem to put two good games back to back. But it's coming back to Boston, and the ghost of Tommy Heinsohn will be there. He's still alive, though, isn't he? You don't hear anything about Tommy anymore. But I'll tell you, 2 games in Boston, and I love the headline. It always is the same headline whenever the Warriors are in the finals. Draymond Green gives Golden State Warriors attitude adjustment. He's a fucking dirty player. Why don't we just say what it is? The thing that really bothers me most about the way the press does is like, if you're Draymond Green, you're one of the dirtiest players in the history of the game. Ricky Mahorn would be the other one. They get the most technical fouls called on them. They get suspended because of the sheer number of technicals. They kick players in the testicles. They do all of the horrible things. And it's funny, the guy who came out of Duke, Allen is his last name, not placing his first name. Another guy who's done some really dirty things in college and in the pros. He's just a filthy motherfucker because he hasn't won anything. Draymond Green gives the Warriors attitude adjustment. Yeah, what he's going to do is he's going to poke Jason Tatum in the eye and blind him. That's the kind of attitude adjustment he's going to give. I don't like the Warriors. I don't like Draymond Green. I don't like Steph Curry. Arrogant, arrogant, arrogant. And I'll tell you honestly, if LeBron James wasn't a Cavalier, I wouldn't like him too much either. Arrogant, arrogant, arrogant. Entitled, entitled, entitled. So far, I've managed to miss both games. I wonder if I can keep my streak intact. And the Celtics have done something that is going to kill them, and that's having these droughts, especially coming out of the half. I remember there was 1 or 2 years where the Cavaliers would come out and they would just bomb in the third quarter, just die. And it kept happening over and over again. It was like you scream at Ty Lue, and it's like, what are you doing? I mean, you've got to try like 16 different things to get this to stop, because it's obvious the players are the problem. And you got to get them turned around because that's your job. We'll see if the Celtics can play 1 game in a row. They need to play 2 good games in a row and win these 2 home games if they want to have a chance to beat the Warriors. Because the Warriors, can get hot at any instant. I always wonder, it's like, the damn third quarter gets us every time. I don't get that. Hey, Bronk, how you doing? He's not ready to speak yet.
Boo.
There he is. How you doing, Bronk?
I'm still alive. I caught like a few minutes ago. I heard you talking about Tommy Heinsohn, and he's in the same place as Peter Alice. He died 2 years ago.
Oh, did he die?
Yeah, back in 2020. Don't think it was COVID, but he's very much dead. So you'll have
I guess I'll be doing it like this from this point forward. All right. Another one bites. Yes, Garrett Allen. Thank you, Rick May. Yep.
But yeah, he's everybody's dead. So
yeah, so it would seem.
My catchphrase.
So yeah, when will Draymond Green get his first technical? I'm so fed up with the whole.
I think we should have the black cow at death for Draymond Green. I am sick and tired of this joke. I hated him back when he was at Michigan State. For God's sakes! For God's sakes, Mark.
Yeah, I don't like him any better than you do, but this is what you get in the NBA. It's like, oh, we can get Steph. one more of these so he can become like the next Kobe. We'll praise him. We'll kiss his feet.
I'm glad I don't have access to the NBA Finals because it prevents me from even wanting to watch it. You couldn't have picked two teams that I hate more. Jeez.
All right, Captain Shadow. Am I trying to say Jesus can't hit a curveball? And I'll ask you in return. Could Jesus create a rock so heavy that he himself could not lift it? Well, you're going around in circles. I'll continue the show.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Deep. That's deep shit, man. That is really deep.
Heavy.
Yeah. Why? Why is my question. The Utah Jazz. Quinn Snyder had a 623 winning percentage over the last 6 seasons, 372 and 264. It's a 585 win percentage in his 8 seasons with Utah overall. But over the past 6, a 623. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, they didn't get to the ultimate game. Well, they're never going to. Don't you understand? It's fucking Utah. The NBA is not into the Mormon market. That's the way it is. But he just up and left. And meanwhile, all-star guard Donovan Mitchell is like, wait a minute, I just did a 5-year contract on the basis that Quinn Snyder would be my coach. And you know what's going to happen. They're going to bring in some guy who's a retread. The team will all get down, and they'll go sub 500, and all these pieces that they have, well, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell to the 2, will end up going to the Lakers. Or wherever. Or I'm sure that as soon as Quinn Snyder said, I'm leaving, that Pat Riley got on a plane to Utah, like Pat Riley wants to go to Utah, and sat down and had dinner with Donovan Mitchell, even though it's not allowed. He's going to become a member of the Miami Heat and take his Mormon talents South Beach.
Yeah, that's it. Why did Utah change their nickname when they moved from New Orleans? I mean, Jazz has not made it to Utah. I can tell you that right now. They should be called the Utah Tabernacles or something,
No, I think based upon Mormons' multiple wives, it should have been the Utah Jizz.
the Utah Bigamists.
Yeah. So, the fact is, while Mitchell is saying that he really likes Snyder and accepts his reasons for stepping down, he is surprised and disappointed.
Well, I think we're all surprised and disappointed about everything, really.
So, I mean, Mitchell has 4 years and $135 million left on his contract, including a player option on the final season. And if the team goes in the hell in a handbasket, and until they get sick of paying him, he's going to have to stay in Utah. And I don't know what's worse, having playing for a losing team or playing for a losing team in Utah. I don't know what's worse, but neither of them are particularly good.
I think II makes a very good point in the chat room. There are no lakes in LA either.
Yeah. And it's true. Rick May, how close could you get when you had Malone and Stockton? How close could you get? And the answer was not enough to get over the Michael Jordan.
Wow.
This will really make you feel good. The Lakers already hired Darwin Ham. He obviously not a kosher guy, but he's supposed to be kind of a tough guy. And now Rasheed Wallace is being considered as assistant coach. What are they going to do? Pass along how to fight with people? How to lose your cool? Get thrown out of games?
I don't know.
Unreal. That's the Lakers for you. Hey, but I get an opportunity here at the end of the show to talk about the Guardians.
The Guardians. What's up with them?
Yeah, what's up with them is that Francona has them playing near 500 ball with shit. Yeah, you got to give Francona credit. He's got nothing to work with.
Oh, Maniac had more to work with than Francona. He really did.
At this point, it's ridiculous. I mean, Josh Naylor, who's had a decent year, is so obviously out of shape. I mean, he wears the baggy uniform like Babe Ruth used to wear to try to hide it,
Well, he has like 2 good games and 2 like absolutely amazing games, and then that's his season. So I think they might as well send him down to the minors for another month or 2, and then bring him up, and he'll have one weekend where he hits 5 home runs and knocks in 15, and then that'll be it for another 2 months.
Teams are just walking Jose Ramirez now. He walks up to home plate, and it's like 4 balls and you're on base. We're not even going to fuck with him. Not even gonna fuck with them.
Yeah.
So who else do they have? Miles Straw is hitting like the straw man. Stephen Kwan is kind of leveled out at about a 250, 255 average. He has great hand-eye coordination and he has a great eye at the plate, but the ball doesn't come off his bat with enough speed to get a lot of those ground balls through the infield. I don't know if you noticed this, but as soon as I started talking about the Guardians,
everyone leaves.
Yeah. Well, I got nothing else to talk about regarding.
Don't look at me. I have nothing to talk about.
Yeah. Right now, nobody does. So I'm talking about what there is in Northeast Ohio. That's my job. Yeah, and the fact that Kwan is now 9th is they didn't want to put too much pressure on him. He got off to that great start in the 2 hole, then all of a sudden he had like a 2 for 32. And
wow.
Well, what happens is pitchers and teams study the film and see what they don't handle. And what they were seeing with Kwan is they could get him out with high fastballs.
Yeah.
And there isn't enough bat speed, or what do they call the statistic? The speed that the ball comes off of the bat. There's a name for that.
Oh, now you got me thinking.
Yeah.
Velocity?
Yeah, something like bat velocity, something like that, or ball velocity off the bat, whatever, and that's what's lacking here. He can get his bat on the ball, but he doesn't have that. He doesn't rope them. Some people just have a live bat. Stephen Kwan at this point has great hand-eye coordination, and he doesn't strike out much, and he walks a fair amount of times, but he doesn't have, the ability to have the ball jump off the bat. Now, he's a very slight guy, and maybe he needs to work on physical strength. I don't know what the answer is. Maybe it's that the bat that he uses. I don't know.
I got an idea. You can borrow some of Albert Bell's bats. That'll help him out, maybe.
Oh yeah, and that's not that they can just use them after the game in the clubhouse to plug the champagne bottles.
Yep.
So, but who do we have? And we've got Ahmed Rosario, who is hot, cold guy, batting in the 2 hole now. And you've got Ramirez, and then you have Owen Miller hitting in the cleanup spot. And now you've got Oscar Gonzalez, and Oscar Gonzalez has had this kind of start that Stephen Kwan had, but people are going to start looking at how do you get this guy out. The fact is, he's another guy who in the minor leagues, he showed immense power last year. Before that, not so much. But he's another guy who kind of reminds me of a bigger Yandy Diaz kind of guy. He gets his bat on the ball pretty well, but not with the command of power. He had 31 home runs in the minor leagues last year, but he hasn't hit one in the bigs yet. And nothing that I've watched of him would tell me that it's impending that he's going to. He hits line drives, a lot like Yandy Diaz did, a lot of line drives, and there's good velocity off the bat. The ball gets through the infield, so that's good, you know.
So
You know,
historically, this is the same Guardians team that we've had for years and years, where they can beat up on the bad teams in the league, and then when they play anybody that's halfway decent, that's got a winning percentage over 550, then we get killed, basically.
yeah, I mean, and if we fall behind in games, we don't score runs in bunches, and you got me on that, Captain Shadow. You got me.
Oh, yeah, that was
the major league thing. It just it flew over my head and went by me. Sorry. Normally I'd pick up something like that, but I'm getting older. I'm aged beef. These things elude me these days. It's sad. After that is anybody's guess, you know, when you get beyond Oscar Gonzalez, except for one guy who's having a remarkable year, and that's Andres Jimenez. And this guy was one of the guys we picked up from the Mets. And why do I always want to call Francisco Lindor Julio Franco? Why do I want to do that?
He's still alive, I believe. He's not dead.
Last I checked, Lindor was hitting a 255 and has 9 home runs for the Mets. He's not been the same player. He's just not been the same player that he was in Cleveland. But Jimenez is just having a real nice season. And he's put up, 8 home runs himself. And surprising power. And he porched one, man, in Camden Yards. That thing easily went 420, 5 feet. And he's hitting line drives the opposite way. And he's fielding extremely well. So, and that's right, Amsterdam. Lindor is top 3. He has 45 ribbies. That's true. He's doing better this year, but still not the same player he was in Cleveland. So, but after that, God only knows. We have 2 blind men playing the catcher position, Maley and Austin Hedges.
We should bring back Bo Diaz. I wonder if he's still alive.
Well, we have Bo Naylor, who is Josh Naylor's brother.
Oh, yeah.
And he's waiting in the wings, supposedly, somewhere in AAA. I don't, but I swear to God, it's like, okay, we got something going. And it's either fucking Maley or Hedges coming up to the plate, and you just shake your head. They either pop it out or they strike out. No contact whatsoever. If
you don't count Victor Martinez and Sandy Alomar, we haven't had a catcher since Ray Fosse, who's also dead.
Yeah.
So, Ray Fosse definitely dead. But yeah.
T-Tosh wants to know, did Terry Francona have COVID? It wouldn't surprise me. There are a bunch of guys did that were back in the coaching staff. I think Hale, the assistant coach, he came down with COVID. So yeah, I think it's likely.
Wow, that's quite a picture of T-Tosh there. Look at that.
Yeah, he's a fancy Dan now, isn't he? Something from Caddyshack 4.
Oh, yes.
Jake Taylor. That's how long it takes Hedges to get down the first baseline, too. But the pitching thing is amazing is we don't have our full pitching staff, but they're actually getting some good work from McKenzie. It looks like Bieber's starting to pick up a little bit, which is good. Plesac has come back and has started to look good. Savali's been hurt. But you know what's amazing me?
What's amazing?
And I don't want to cast aspersions here.
Oh, go on. You do it all the time.
All the time. Last year, they brought up a guy who I said was the new Josh Tomlin. Do you remember who?
No, that would be
Eli Morgan.
Eli Morgan. I think I have seen him once or twice.
Sounds like a liquor. An
That's
Amish
Captain
liquor. Yeah, no, Amish liquor. That's a sad thought.
Amish.
If you spell that differently, that's really disturbing.
I tell you what, I wouldn't want to run into any drunk Amish people. That would be very frightening.
Who were liquors. It must be hard though with the long dresses. Oh, at any rate. Eli Morgan came up last year throwing 75-mile-an-hour changeups and 85-mile-an-hour fastballs. And I'm like, I don't get it. And he was horrible. And he's back again for this year. But when I saw him come out to the mound, it's like, this guy looks different. Like he physically looks different.
Oh, did they give him some of the Paul Bird, whatever it was, the human growth hormone or whatever he took?
I don't know, man. But it's like, Matt Underwood. Matt Underwood says, he worked out really hard during the off season. I'm going, Jesus Christ. He looks like he's busting out of the front of his uniform. He doesn't look like the same guy. Now he throws an 85-mile-an-hour changeup, a 78-mile-an-hour changeup, and a 93 to 94-mile-an-hour fastball that was not there before.
Oh, that's
there's something fishy.
I don't know.
But Francona's using him a lot and in all kinds of situations, and he's coming in and getting people out. He's only walked like 4 men in all the innings that he's pitched, and he is like a multi-inning relief pitcher.
Wow.
And he's got really good control. He's getting people to pop up like there's suddenly life on that fastball. I don't know. Class A is done a good job closing games. They got him throwing strikes as well. He isn't walking. He's only walked 4 or 5 guys this season. So they're not, killing themselves that way. So, it's the definition of a 500 team that, again, if we had any offense whatsoever, we would be in first place. Not the Twins. The Guardians would be, but we never get any hitting because we won't spend the money to get hitting. So it's always the same story. But I mean, I thought that Jimenez's season has been nothing short of remarkable. And from a statistical perspective, I mean, he's hitting like a 323. And he's got 8 or 9 home runs, and nobody saw that coming. And the ball is jumping off his bat. He's hitting line drives opposite field and pulling the ball, and he's, and watching Ramirez. I mean, Ramirez leading the league in runs batted in, and they're not even pitching to him. Pretty remarkable stuff.
Well, it's sort of like there's nothing to talk about, so it's kind of appropriate that the longest day seems like the longest show, D-Day and all that. So,
yeah, but I will say this. I'm going to mention Michael Jordan a second time in the show, which will tell you how barren the terrain is.
Oh.
Charlotte Hornets owner, and we forget.
Does he still own them?
Yeah, he still owns the Hornets, who go nowhere. He's the worst owner in the NBA, and
He could be one of the worst owners of any sports team.
yeah, I mean, they're invisible. The Charlotte Hornets are like invisible. And he's going to meet with head coaching finalist Mike D'Antoni and Kenny Atkinson, former of the Nets. I mean, Mike D'Antoni, what? He had some success in Phoenix. He went to LA and went, eh. So when you don't make it in LA, then you just hide out in Charlotte and just take the money. There's no, and all of this talk about, boy, what a winner Michael Jordan is. I want to say something. As a basketball player, skill wise, Michael Jordan's one of the 2 best ever. And maybe we can say one of the 3 best if you put Kareem in there. All right.
Yep.
And, but everything else, Michael Jordan has got like nada. LeBron James just became the first, I believe,
Billionaire.
Billionaire, right?
Billionaire on the Forbes. He's on the Forbes list. The guy is seriously minted, as they say here.
And
he's minted.
You don't get that way
by being stupid.
By being a stupid guy from Akron.
Or gambling it away.
Yeah, too. And, it's interesting when you look at the decisions of how LeBron has diversified his money and gotten return on what he has invested in. I think one of the first big ones, I think, were the Beats headphones.
Oh, he was in on those. Wow.
Oh, yeah, he was in on those. Blaze Pizza.
Yeah.
Which is the pizza that gets cooked like in 45 seconds, because it has some special oven in it and they're all over the place. And he was early investor in that. He's been involved in so many things, not to mention the movies that he's done. And he's $1.18 billion. And
well, I see him having a political career once he does retire. I don't know where
he's not.
Where that'll be.
I don't think he's verbal enough, and he's really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way by saying things that are just too damn blunt and too.
Well,
icky.
You say that, but yeah, I think that's the style nowadays, though.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So, what I was going to say is Michael Jordan, it doesn't tarnish what you did on the floor. But man, you could do the city of Charlotte a big favor and sell that team. Your ego won't let you, but you don't even hear about him.
What's the point in having NBA basketball in North Carolina anyway? They got Duke, they got North Carolina, they got like 8 other colleges that are, decent basketball teams. What's their following? Do they sell out their games at all, or
no?
I have no idea.
No, it's and the reason I know that is because for it's a lot like the Orlando Magic. I get when I was in South Carolina, and I'd be up there. You get kind of the blackout, and you end up watching.
Okay.
The Charlotte Hornets games, and the same thing here. I'm under a blackout, and I have to listen to the Orlando Magic announcers when the Cavs play them. And there's nobody in either place. It's like nothing's happening. And you name me the last great players to play in those 2 cities.
Oh,
yeah,
Dwight Howard for Orlando, maybe when he was good.
Who?
Dwight Howard. And,
Dwight Howard, and before that, Shaq.
Yeah.
But
Charlotte, that guy with 3 names. I can't think of his 3.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. The guy that they drafted out of Kentucky. Is that? Yeah. He never amounted to anything. The organization in Charlotte. They had who was the little guard? the guy who ended up, now he's been all over the league, but he was, I forget, 5'11" guard. Put it up in the chat room.
No.
Penny Hardaway. That's good. That's
Hardaway.
a good
That's
one.
Orlando.
Amsterdam. That's right. But no, the guy who's just recently of recent vintage, who was the guard who played in Charlotte and instant offense, couldn't play a lick of defense.
See, this
Got
is
a
why we
good
need
contract,
Tony
and now
Cat
he's
here.
old.
Well,
Forget. I don't remember. I mean, the fact that I can't even think of a single decent player who played on these teams, really, it's fans know that.
wow.
And it's true. That area is a hotbed for college hoops. But the thing is, none of the star players who play on those teams ever land. It wasn't Grant Hill. Where did Grant Hill? Oh, he went to the Pistons. I'm trying to figure out if any of the Dukies or any of those people ever went to the Charlotte Hornets. And I don't think.
No idea.
Yeah. At any rate, I'm done with this particular program, as you should be too.
I am too.
Rob, thanks for jumping in and keeping me company. Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning into
Everybody's
this edition.
dead, man. Everybody's dead.
Yeah, well, we're just going to keep living. And they'll have to put up with us. Thanks for tuning in and watching the program today. We'll be back again on Friday like we always are. And the shows can only be as interesting as the subjects that are there. And I will talk about whatever there is in the world of Northeast Ohio sports, because I'm a cow and that's what I do. Thanks for tuning in, and until Friday, hasta la vista, Pastorheads. Good night.
See you later, man.